Three bone-chilling true beach house tales that haunt your summer nights. For the summer breeze was thick that night, heavy with salt and secrets. In the quaint coastal town of Blue Harbor, the shimmering waves masked an unseen terror, a darkness lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the unwary. They say you can hear the echoes of lost souls in the night, and just beyond the shore, three beach houses stood like stone sentinels, each one steeped in chilling legend and whispered tales. First was the Green House, an old Victorian painted a faded blue that seemed to breathe even in the still of night. Families had come and gone, but every summer, someone would vanish at sea, leaving behind unanswered questions, heartache, and the smell of despair lingering in the air. The creaky floors echoed with ghostly laughter, a haunting mix of joy and sorrow that sent chills down the spines of visitors. Children played outside, but at dusk, their giggles turned to eerie silence. Fearful whispers floated on the wind, asking who would be next to disappear. Across from it stood the miller's cottage, a tiny beach shack with a labyrinth of treacherous stairs leading to the deck. Year after year, the press covered strange mishaps. One summer, it was a wedding that ended in screams as the bride was swept away, never to be seen again. On nights infused with fog, locals claimed to hear her wedding bells tolling in the mist, pulled from the depths of despair. Lost in that anguish was a compact mirror that had shattered upon the rocks, revealing a face twisted in hate and despair. Those unfortunate enough to stumble upon it never returned to the cottage. Then there was the old fisherman's lodge, the most notorious of them all. Its crumbling walls seemed to whisper warnings as sailors would gaze in fear at its eerie silhouette. Each winter, rumors spread like wildfire about a ghost ship spotted just beyond the shore, crewed by the damned souls whose lives ended too soon. Their mournful cries roamed the beach, mixing with the lapping waves and dancing shadows. Some dared to venture close, but they were greeted with a stench of decay that choked them, leaving them breathless and stumbling back to the safety of the shore. But what if these stories were more than urban myths? What if there was a thread tying the fates of these three houses, a tragic connection that refused to let go? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the starless sky cast a blanket of darkness over Blue Harbor, a group of friends arrived at the greenhouse, ready to embrace the unknown and bask in the thrill of fear. They laughed, but their voices wavered, laughing a little too loud, daring the shadows to remain quiet. In the distance, thunder rumbled, and the air crackled with electric tension. Were they ready to uncover the sinister truths wrapped in the salt-drenched mystery of the three beach houses? Or would they join the ranks of those who had come before, lost forever to the whispers of the ocean? The waves crashed angrily against the shore, as if answering their question, shaping a dark promise that hung sharply in the night air. The friends kicked the door open, laughter spilling into the dimly lit foyer. The scent of old wood and musty air wrapped around them like a heavy blanket. "Welcome to our summer retreat," Sarah joked, her voice echoing in the hollow space. They swept inside, but their excitement felt forced, a thin veil over the dread that loomed outside. The greenhouse creaked under their weight as they ventured further in, each step awakening the memories buried deep within its walls. Jasmine peered through the dusty window, her heart racing. "What was that?" she whispered, her breath freezing in the air as something flickered just past the glass. Was it a shadow, or had she imagined it altogether? Derek, always the skeptic, rolled his eyes. "It's just the wind, Jazz, stop freaking out." He laughed it off, but even he could feel the heaviness in the air. As night fell, they gathered in the living room. A few old candles flickered reluctantly against the darkness, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. The group huddled around a rickety table, illuminated by their phones as they decided on the first dare. "Let us talk about the stories," Sarah suggested, her expression wavering between curiosity and fear. A chill ran through the room as whispers of past tragedies filled the air, each story a thread binding them to Blue Harbor's haunted history. Jessica, the quietest of the group, spoke up. "Did you know that each summer, someone from this house disappears? Just like the others?" Her voice trembled slightly, as if she could feel the weight of those lost souls pressing down on her. A bead of sweat rolled down Derek's back despite the cool breeze blowing through the window. "Okay, let's play a game," he said, trying to lighten the atmosphere. "Truth or dare? If you pick dare, you have to venture outside." The group hesitated, the laughter dying on their lips. One by one, they looked around at each other, the idea of venturing out into the pitch-black void feeling more insidious with every heartbeat. Finally, Jasmine broke the silence. "Okay, I'll go first," she said, a tremor of excitement mixed with trepidation. "I pick dare. Go to the shoreline and say, 'I'll be your anchor,'" Derek challenged, a mix of bravado and mischief in his eyes. Jasmine gulped. She had heard the whispers of doom tied to those words before. But before she could back out, Sarah chimed in, "We're making memories here, right? Let us go together." As they stepped outside, the wind howled like a lost spirit searching for solace. They trudged down to the beach, the sand shifting beneath their feet, frigid waves lapping hungrily at the shore. Only the dim glow of their phones pierced the heavy veil of night. Jasmine stood at the water's edge, her heart racing. "I'll be your anchor," she called out, her voice swallowed by the roaring surf. Silence followed. The world held its breath. Suddenly, a chilling scream erupted from deeper within the misty waves, echoing off the cliffs. A visceral panic seized the group as they spun around, eyes wide, breath hitching in their throats. "Did you hear that?" Jessica gasped, her face pale under the glow of their phones, but it was too late. Something dark began to emerge from the water, slick and moving ominously as it inched closer to the shore. Tentacles? The friends stared in horror, frozen as the air thickened around them, cutting off their cries. What had they unleashed? And just as suddenly, the fire of their phones flickered, flickering out, plunging them into darkness. What was lurking in the depths, waiting for its chance to claim another soul? The darkness swallowed them whole. Panic rippled through the group as the last remnants of light vanished. Heartbeats quickened, echoing louder than the crashing waves. The cold air stung like needles against their skin, and the ground felt unsteady beneath their feet. "Turn the flashlights back on." "What happened?" Derek's voice was sharp, cutting through the thick fog of fear. There was a frantic rustling as they fumbled with their phones, but no bright screens illuminated the night. Jasmine's fingers trembled as she held her phone up, willing it to come back to life. "Come on. Please." Panic had set in, her eyes darting toward the water where shadows twisted and darkened. "Can you see it?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No." Jasmine shouted back. "Whatever it is, it's closer." An unearthly slithering sound reached their ears, blending with the rush of the waves, sending shivers coursing down their spines. Jasmine squinted into the darkness, desperate to see what was out there. "I don't think we should be here," she managed, her voice trembling. "Let us go back. Now," Jessica pleaded. Before they could turn, an icy wind swept across the beach, wrapping them in its chilling grasp. It felt alive, like fingers probing at their necks. Without warning, a dark shape surged toward them from the depths, a shadow rising higher, stretching impossibly wide. Tentacles, slick and glistening, lunged, and the friends stumbled backward. "Run!" Derek yelled, adrenaline surging through him. They turned to dash away but found their feet anchored to the sand. An unseen force held them rooted, trembling, paralyzed. The figure broke through the surf, its monstrous form illuminated by a flash of lightning that tore through the sky. A grotesque face, void of features yet dripping malice, burst from the blackened water. Its gaping mouth seemed to echo the words Jasmine had spoken, "I'll be your anchor," twisted into a tormenting mockery. Jessica screamed, the sound razor-sharp, piercing through the oppressive darkness. It's going to take us. With sheer will, Derek broke free. He grabbed Jasmine's arm and jerked her forward, pulling her into a sprint. Follow us. Don't look back. He felt the panic-washed scent of ocean breeze mingling with salt and fear. The chaos of the moment broke with a distinctly familiar sound, a feeble crackling from one of their phones as they raced. Sarah darted to pick up her phone, its dim light barely illuminating their way. This way! She shouted, leading them toward the path littered with rocks underfoot and steep slopes. Then came the sloshing sound of endless water behind them, the tentacles thrashing dangerously. It was alive. They burst onto the grassy edge, the cold ground softening their steps. But they couldn't stop. Breaths came in jagged bursts, hearts pounding as the chilling realization sank in that the threat was still pursuing them. Out of breath, they stumbled into a clearing surrounded by ancient trees, their trunks gnarled and twisted like the nightmares that haunted their minds. A darkness settled around them, creeping in and oozing from the trees. What do we do now? Sarah whispered shakily, fear weaving through her words. We can't go back. We have to find a way to get rid of it, Derek replied, still catching his breath, glancing back toward the beach. The looming figure seemed to vanish in the inky void, but they could all feel its presence coiling around them, tighter and tighter. Suddenly, Jessica fell to her knees, clutching her head, a pained expression contorting her face. No, it's already here, it's inside us, she cried. The others exchanged horrified glances, struggling to comprehend what was happening. What do you mean? Jasmine asked, stepping closer, worry etched in her voice. The anchor, it's not just a word. It's a curse. Jessica screamed, her hands clawing at the air as if battling invisible chains. The pressure grew heavier, and the shadows seemed to whisper sinister thoughts when the wind picked up again. As the sky darkened further, something shifted behind the trees. A figure emerged, a twisted silhouette that mirrored the one from the water. A fit of manic laughter erupted from somewhere deep in the dark. Were they truly safe? Where would the haunting end? And as the cover of despair cloaked them, the chilling question rang out, who would be the first to surrender? Jessica's voice sounded suddenly foreign, as if they were straddling two worlds, one drenched in primal fear and the other on the brink of an unimaginable horror. It's inside us, she panted, choking on her words. The terror rushed back, more visceral than before. Jessica! You need to fight it. Derek shouted, his voice strained and desperate. But how could they fight something they couldn't even see? The shadows around them twisted, worming their way into their minds like tendrils, probing for their innermost fears. Derek! Jasmine cried, eyes wide with panic. She grabbed his arm, the cold grip sending shivers through him. We have to get her out of here. No! Jessica shrieked, a guttural sound that seemed to rise from somewhere deep inside her. You don't understand. The curse, the anchor, it's calling to you too. For a brief moment, silence hung in the air like a dark curtain, and then they heard it, a low, sinister whisper that sent icy fingers crawling down their spines. It was almost melodic, like a siren's song, beckoning, promising something they couldn't yet comprehend. Run! Derek yelled again, but his voice lacked conviction now. The laughter from the shadows grew louder, reverberating around them, blending with the crashing waves like a twisted symphony. They could feel it, he could feel it, the pull of the deep, the ghostly claws of despair waiting to clutch them. They moved as a unit, stumbling forward, breathless, skin clammy. The trees seemed to close in, branches scraping against each other with an eerie intimacy. With every step into the darkened woods, the sense of something lurking just beyond their peripheral vision festered, ripe with menace. Is that? Sarah pointed ahead, their feet carrying them into what looked like a clearing illuminated by a ghostly glow. Short-lived sparks of silver flickered in the distance, enticing them. It beckoned like the lighthouse from a nightmare. Let us just go. Jasmine urged, her voice laced with desperate bravado. They reached the edge of the clearing, and what lay before them froze Derek's breath in his throat. Crystal clear water sat like a mirror, pools dancing with a surreal light that illuminated twisted shapes at the bottom. Was that what it wanted? To pull them in, but then, beyond the water, a figure emerged. Tall and elongated, it resembled a reflection from the depths, a perverse intimidation standing on slender legs. It gestured to them with sleek, flowing arms. "Come to me," the voice echoed, smoother and more alluring than anything they had ever heard. It shrouded their thoughts like mist, wrapping them in a warm cocoon of comfort. "Stay away from it," Derek shouted, shoving Jasmine backward as she stepped forward. There was a spark of recognition in her eyes, a longing he had never seen before. "It's beautiful," she whispered, entranced. "It's what we've been searching for." "No, Jazz, no. This isn't right." But the look in her eyes told him she was already slipping away, like sand through his fingers. Meanwhile, Jessica clawed at the ground, shaking her head wildly. "It's lying to you. We have to." Her scream was cut short by a heart-stopping wail that echoed through the clearing, an unnatural sound of anguish. The air turned electric as the beast from the surf materialized again, larger than before, its tentacles weaving in the air like creatures of the night. It descended into the clearing, dragging what looked like flickering lights from the surface of the water. Suddenly, everything went dark. The sparkles of light vanished, swallowed by an expansive blackness that seemed to consume not just the earth around them but their very souls. "Why won't you let us go?" Derek cried into the void, desperation sharp against his throat. A low growl rumbled beneath, echoing the question back to him, filled with disturbing mockery. "You are already mine." Keenly aware that time was slipping away, Derek caught a glimpse of movement from Jessica. "Fight it, Jessica. Don't let it win." And then, a searing flash of light burst across the clearing, illuminating the scene around them. But in the midst of it all, their truths hung in the balance. Would they succumb to the entity's call, or could they potentially sever the chains binding them to the dark presence? As the specter of doom clawed at their resolve, battling the anchor deep within, they realized the depths of horror lay not in the darkness outside, but in the shadows of their very souls. What was truly at stake for each of them? Their fate teetered on a knife's edge as they plunged deeper into the abyss of their own making. What would happen when the real fight began? The blinding flash receded as suddenly as it had come, leaving behind a stifling darkness that clung fiercely to their skin. Derek's heart thundered, primal and fast, echoing in his ears as he squinted into the void, the faintest remnants of light playing tricks on his sight. Sarah was on the ground, her body trembling, while Jasmine still stood, frozen in that pulsating space caught between reality and illusion. "Jasmine!" Derek reached toward her, desperation clawing at his throat. But she didn't respond, her eyes shimmering with tears that glimmered like liquid glass under a phantom moon. It wasn't the Jasmine he knew, this one was tethered to something deep, something cruelly beautiful. "Jasmine, fight!" Sarah's voice was a barely there whisper, her eyes darting nervously between the two of them. "We have to get her back." Derek felt the urge to charge forward, to shake her out of this hallucination. But as he stepped closer, shadows writhed like living things, flicking out tendrils that snatched at his ankles. "Come join us," a soft, hypnotic voice cooed from the darkness, wrapping around him, promising solace from the chaos around them. He recoiled, the chill of the whisper sent spikes of fear straight through him. Then, Jessica's frantic cries erupted, louder than the consuming darkness. "Derek! It's lying! Don't listen!" She tugged at her hair, grappling with the weight of her terror. "It's trying to take you." "Don't look at it, Jasmine," Derek pleaded, his heart racing. "Please." He could feel her pulling away, as though the very air shimmered like a mirage of possibilities, tempting her deeper, but before he could intervene, laughter echoed across the clearing, sharp and jarring. It was the beast, its form veiled in a twisted glow, and although he couldn't see its eyes, he could feel them boring into him, stealing his breath away. "Your desires, your fears, they are but a feast for me," it rumbled, each syllable vibrating through the ground like an earthquake of dread. "Why fight what you crave? Embrace the pull. Derek's mind raced. Was it true? Deep down, a part of him wanted to surrender, to find comfort in the arms of the unknown. He staggered back, shaking his head furiously as if to dislodge the cloying thoughts, but that pulsing temptation only grew stronger, weaving itself through every fiber of his being. Derek! Look at me. Jessica's wild eyes locked onto his, searching for a flame of remembrance. We've fought before. We can end this. Together. The shadows pressed closer, suffocating and pervasive, but Derek found strength in her eyes. He could not succumb. Reach for Jasmine. Pull her back. Jessica stumbled forward, darting ahead with surprising urgency. Jasmine, come back. She screamed, her voice cracking with raw emotion. This isn't who you are. A guttural growl erupted from the beast, the sound curling around them like smoke. Derek felt it seep into his bones. You are too late, it insisted, its voice leering. None shall leave. The air crackled as Jessica and Jasmine stood on either side of the water's edge, two opposing forces straddling the line of temptation and desperation. Derek felt his throat tighten, heart racing as shadows surged forth. We need to disrupt its hold. He shouted. Whatever it takes. As he lunged toward Jasmine, something sharp pierced the silence. The clearing trembled as waves surged up, crashing against the invisible barrier that seemed to pulse with life. Suddenly, the water erupted. A spectral hand rose from the depths, fingers woven of shadow and agony, reaching for Jasmine. Resist! Derek shouted, panic gnawing at him. Would they be swallowed whole, consumed by the very darkness that promised them everything and nothing? Derek's soul screamed in answer, and then, from the depths of his being, a thought ignited a memory, a moment of unity. Would it be enough? The shadows shrieked as the tide of battle began. The real conflict was about to unfold. Would they emerge together or surrender one by one? The answer lay just beyond the threshold of light, and each heartbeat pulsed in time with their desperate future. The water heaved violently, surging as if it possessed a will of its own, and behind that spectral hand, the depths remained an impenetrable abyss. Derek's breath came fast and uneven, wrestling against the choking dread. Every instinct screamed at him to pull back, to leave while there was still time. Jasmine. Jessica's voice was raw with anguish. She surged toward her friend, desperation fueling her movements like a soldier charging into battle. Fight it, Jasmine. Remember who you are. You are stronger than this. But Jasmine's gaze was distant, a dreamlike stupor holding her captive against the pulsing darkness. The laughter of the beast grew louder, a monstrous symphony of malevolence, embracing the chaos around them. She longs for something greater, it hissed, shifting its form as if settling comfortably into the shadows themselves. Derek pushed through the murmuring fear as shadows encircled him like hungry wolves. No, Jasmine. You're not just a pawn. Fight back. Yet with each shout, the fog of darkness thickened, enrapturing every word and twisting it into hollow echoes. As if sensing Derek's resolve, the ghostly hand lunged closer, fingers stretching toward Jasmine like cruel vines. Her body still trembled, a puppet swaying on the strings of its captor. He could see the struggle in her face, one moment of clarity before the depths swallowed it whole. Please. Derek's voice cracked, ripping through the foggy silence. We can't lose you. Don't you remember? The summer by the lake? Your laughter. That name, the lake, flashed bright in her mind, but it flickered like a dying ember. She began, but the shadows surged violently, drowning her voice as the beast roared, eager to reclaim its feast. Stop. Jessica's voice cut through the chaos like a blade, and she launched herself forward, determination burning fiercely within her. She reached out, fingers trembling, ready to grasp hold of anything tangible. We're here. You've always been here with us. The shadows recoiled slightly, a moment of vulnerability, as if struggling against the force of their united hope. Derek seized the opportunity, feeling a spark of energy coursing through him, a sense of belonging, of unity that twisted the darkness. "Together," he cried, and without thinking, he took a step forward, gripping Jessica's hand tightly as she gripped Jasmine's. As they joined hands, a tremor rippled through the air, an electric tension igniting in the atmosphere. The shadows quivered, recoiling from the light emitted by their intertwined spirits. "This ends now," Derek shouted, summoning every ounce of strength within him, but the beast merely laughed, darker and deeper than before. "Foolish children," it mocked. "Do you truly believe love can conquer the void?" The shadows lunged, and agony surged through Derek's chest, a stabbing fear as the aura of darkness threatened to engulf their fragile light. With the intensity of a cyclone, the gale of shadows bore down, and figures began to shift, the very fabric of reality bending around them. Would their bond be enough to withstand the overwhelming tide? Were they destined to break apart in the chaos? As the beast gorged itself on hope, the spectral hand advanced, strands of darkness twisting tighter. Derek felt the pull, the icy grip beginning to draw him into the abyss. And just as despair threatened to sear through him, a dazzling light began to push through, a beacon, flickering but strong. "Hold on!" Sarah shouted, her voice slicing through the disarray. "We can do this. One more push." The fabric of twilight shimmered as they stood together, but the darkness hissed in fury. Would this glimmer of hope lead them to salvation or oblivion? With minds racing, hearts quickening, the final stand was about to unfold, and the outcome hinged on a thin thread between trust and despair. Derek closed his eyes tightly, ready to face the crescendo of darkness. What awaited them on the other side of this struggle? The air vibrated with tension as the light flickered, pulsing like a heartbeat threatening to fade. Derek's heart thudded violently against his ribs, the very sound a desperate prayer for survival. He opened his eyes, locking onto Jasmine's face, marred by shadows yet desperately searching for a glimmer of recognition. "Don't let go." Jessica strained, her knuckles white as she tightened her grip on Jasmine. The spectral hand loomed ever closer, those ghostly fingers curling dangerously, almost tasting their impending doom. "Focus, Jasmine. Come back to us." Jess shouted, her voice cracking as they all teetered on a precipice of despair, the abyss whispering lies into their ears. "Don't let it win." In that moment, the shadows howled, angry and ferocious, reacting to the combined strength of their plea. They writhed as if in agony, shifting forms that coiled and twisted like smoke. Derek could feel the darkness closing in, suffocating him, each breath heavy with the weight of lost hope. And then, all at once, something shifted within Jasmine. Her eyes flickered with a spark, revealing a familiar warmth buried beneath the haze. "I remember," she whispered, almost drowned out by the rumbling laughter that surrounded them. Each syllable seemed to peel away layers of darkness like an onion, revealing some raw emotion, some piece of her still fighting. "Hold on to that!" Derek shouted, his voice roaring above the cacophony. The shadows shrieked, thrashing around them, desperate to quell the light dawning within her, but with every moment of clarity, the beast became more vicious, morphing into a colossal figure of swirling darkness, roaring with rage. "You think memories are enough?" It taunted, each word like a dagger, piercing through their fragile hope. "No. It's not just memories," Jessica countered, her spirit igniting like a spark catching fire. "It's love. Our love for you, Jasmine." The word hung in the air like an undeniable pulse. An old, almost unimaginable power surged between them, energy gathering and coalescing into a brilliant shine, a defense against the darkness. The shadows shrieked in protest, lashing out with furious intensity. Derek felt the tug, the icy pull of despair deepening as Jasmine's grip faltered. "Jasmine!" He pressed, urgency clawing at him, panic crawling up his spine. "Don't let it take you. Remember the songs we used to sing? The laughter we shared?" Jasmine's gaze sharpened, focusing on him as if pulling herself out of a thick fog. "Derek," she breathed, a hint of trembling light breaking through. I remember summer nights, the stars, I don't want to lose you. Just as hope began to weave itself into their connection, the beast made its final move, a cataclysmic wave swirling through the air as if time itself had stopped. The shadows lunged, nearly engulfing them, as primal fear gripped Derek's heart in a cold vice that he could feel the darkness clawing at his edges, ripping at his soul as if wanting to tear his essence away. But then, like a fuse igniting, Jasmine's light burst forth, illuminating the inky blackness with a fierce radiance. I want to let you go, she declared, strength surging through her like a tidal wave. The darkness recoiled, thunderous howls piercing the air as the bond between them shimmered, a protective shield forming amidst the chaos. Together, they cried, voices interlocking in defiance, a symphony of unity against the void. The shadows twisted, chaotic and furious, as an unseen force surged forward, the fabric of reality trembling under the collective strength of their bond. But suddenly, the ground beneath them began to quake, a malevolent energy rising, and Derek staggered, disbelief filling him as cracks splintered the ground. "Get ready!" Sarah shouted, but it was too late. The ominous growl of the beast crescendoed, and in the blink of an eye, the world fractured around them. In that moment of blinding light, a horrific truth reared its head, layers of deception peeling back, and they stared into the depths of their own fears. How far would they truly go to save Jasmine? The lights dimmed, silhouettes swirling, and just as everything began to disintegrate, a chilling whisper curled around their minds. Welcome to your nightmare. What awaited them on this treacherous path? Would they unravel the dark mystery before it consumed them all? The world imploded into darkness, a blinding burst that swallowed every sensation. Derek felt weightless, suspended in a chasm where sound ebbed to silence. Panic crushed him, feeling like hands tightening around his throat. He had no sense of direction, no ground to stand on. But then, a flicker ignited in the void. Jasmine's voice, a fragile thread pulling at his consciousness. "Derek. Jasmine." He called out, his voice echoing into nothingness, helplessness clawing at his heart. He felt her presence, close yet impossibly far. The bond they fought to protect pulsed, and with it, the light began to fracture the inky gloom. Suddenly, the ground reappeared beneath him, a stony surface that felt cold and familiar. They stood in a hauntingly empty landscape, shadows stretching infinitely into a horizon shrouded in fog. The air was thick with dread, but a vibrant shimmer surrounded Jasmine, illuminating the dark void. "Look out!" Jessica shouted, pointing wildly as a multitude of shifting shapes broke free from the shadows, specters that twisted and undulated like smoke. They slipped into view, grotesque figures filled with malice, their hollow eyes glinting with hunger. Derek's heart raced. "We have to go. They're coming." Jasmine stood tall, her light flickering but fiercely illuminated, a beacon against the torrent of darkness. "Together. We can still fight," she cried. Jessica and Sarah lined up beside her, hearts beating in sync, each pulse weaving an invisible thread of hope. But just as they braced for confrontation, a horrifying roar emanated from the depths of the shadows. It seemed to shake the very ground beneath them, a primal sound that echoed through their bones. "Do you really think your feeble light can save you?" The demonic voice slithered around them, thick and suffocating. "You are mere mortals, nothing but fleeting memories trapped in an endless nightmare." "Shut up!" Derek shouted defiantly, feeling the rage ignite within him. "You think you can take her? You don't know how strong we are." With a sudden rush of adrenaline, the four of them joined hands, their collective energy shimmering in a dizzying array of light. They focused on Jasmine's memories, those radiant moments that anchored them, laughter on sunlit beaches, whispered secrets under starlit skies, and the warmth of unity that filled their hearts. The shadows hesitated, flickering uncertainly as the light pushed back against their malevolence. But the creature roared anew, its fury manifesting into a violent storm that hurled darkness toward them with relentless force. Derek felt the weight of despair pushing down, his grip on Jasmine faltering as shadows brushed against him like icy fingers. "No! Don't give in!" He screamed, recalling every moment that mattered, squeezing Jasmine's hand tighter, desperate to keep her anchored. Suddenly, the ground beneath them erupted in chaos. Cracks splintered and twisted, groaning as if the world itself was tearing apart. The specters lunged forward, mouths gaping wide, ready to devour their light, and just when it seemed they would be overwhelmed, an explosion of brilliance erupted from Jasmine. "We are more than your nightmares," she yelled, the light enveloping them, forcing the darkness back. The shadows recoiled, but not without launching a final assault. They swarmed with relentless fury, screaming in anguish, their writhing forms clawing at their defenses. "Hold on!" Jessica shouted, trying to maintain their circle. But just as they fought back, a blinding bolt of energy split the air. The beast had revealed its final form, a massive, grotesque figure made of darkness, towered above them, eyes ablaze with fury. "Your end is near," it hissed, and Derek felt the icy fingers of fear grip his heart once more. Would this truly be their last stand? And what could they do against such unfathomable evil? As darkness gathered for one final strike, Derek knew there was no choice but to confront the horror head-on. With a storm of emotions swirling through him, he grasped onto hope, determination igniting a fire within. On 3, we fight. The suspense thickened, and as they prepared for the ultimate showdown, Derek's mind raced. Could their love truly triumph over such insatiable darkness? Or would this be the night everything changed forever? The darkness surged forward, a living entity bent on swallowing them whole. Derek's heart hammered against his ribs, echoing in his ears like a war drum. 1-2, he whispered through clenched teeth, each number firing him up with defiance. 3. They shouted as one. In an instant, their combined energy flared brightly, a dazzling light that cut through the encroaching shadows. Derek felt the warmth of Jasmine's hand mingling with his determination. It was like a spark igniting a flame. With a surge of strength, they hurled their collective will at the monstrous figure looming above. The light clashed with the beast, a cataclysmic explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through the fog-shrouded landscape. The creature howled, a sound that sent shivers down Derek's spine, as if it were a predator denying its prey. He felt its rage wash over him like a frigid wave, but he stood firm, clinging to Jasmine and the hope burning within him. With their voices rising in unison, they called upon every positive memory that defined their bond, the kindness they'd shown each other, the loyalty built through shared struggles, the laughter that had once united them. They poured their hearts into the light, pushing against the darkness with every ounce of love they could muster. The shadows recoiled, their forms twisting and contorting as if in pain. The creature's dark visage flickered, showing glimpses of fear, and Derek marveled at the power of their unity. Could it truly work? "Keep pushing. Don't let go," Jessica screamed, her voice trembling, and they synchronized their breathing, willing their emotions into a single tide of brilliance. But just as the light began to dissolve the darkness, the beast reared back. "You think you can banish me?" it roared, the ground quaking beneath it. "I am the chaos within each of you. You cannot escape." A deep chill settled over Derek. It was one thing to fight the creature, it was another to grapple with the seeds of doubt it sowed in their minds. Each word carried weight. He recalled moments of insecurity, loss, and the shadows that sometimes crept into their lives. Could the creature be right? Were they bound by fear, more than they were by hope? The figures of the specters shifted, slinking around him like smoke, erasing the light with whispers of trepidation. "You're not strong enough. Look around." Derek's heart twisted. Could it be true? Would the light extinguish, just like that? Just then, he felt Jasmine lean closer to him. "Derek, listen to me. We are stronger together. We face this darkness as one or not at all. Our memories are not chains, they are wings. Don't doubt us." That struck a chord, resonating deep within his soul. With renewed vigor, he yelled back, "You may be in our minds, but you will never own our hearts. We are not afraid." The shadows responded with a guttural screech. The air crackled with energy, a tempest of emotions that danced on the edge of madness. And in that chaos, he realized something. Fear was palpable, but it could only grow if they let it. Push harder. He urged, as if shaping the very ground beneath them with their shared cries, their light surging higher, but then, without warning, a rift opened beside them. It was a dark vortex swirling threateningly, pulling at their feet, attempting to tear them apart. Derek stumbled but quickly steadied, holding Jasmine's hand like a lifeline. "Don't let go," he shouted, their eyes locking. Then, from the depths of the abyss, a familiar face emerged. An echo from their past, one of loss that sent a shiver down his spine. Derek felt a wave of nausea crash over him as the figure approached. "You should have listened," it whispered in a voice that haunted the recesses of his mind. What had they really unleashed? As doubt clawed its way back, Derek had to decide, would they surrender to the threat of the past, or could their love forge a path into the unknown? In that chilling moment, when time seemed to still, a gut-wrenching realization hit him: the battle had just begun, and they were not alone in this fight. But what other horrors awaited? From the shadows? Would the truth bind them or tear them apart, and could their love survive when the past wanted vengeance? The chaos of fear twisted around them, a relentless storm of shadows and whispers. But as they stood clutching each other, the shadows roared in frustration. They were not just fighting a beast, they were battling the ghosts of their past, memories that clawed at their very existence. Derek sensed the tendrils of doubt tighten around his heart. They threatened to suffocate him. Together. "Remember all those summers at the lake," he cried, desperation gripping him like iron. "Trust in that light." Jasmine's eyes glistened with determination, a flicker of hope igniting amidst the shadows. "I won't let them take me," she said, her voice trembling yet resolute. "We can do this." With her words, the bond between them strengthened, their resolve braided together. They faced the vortex, feeling its pull, and Derek shouted, "We are not your prey. We refuse to be consumed by your darkness." A fierce energy surged between them, feeding off their unity, and as they turned toward the beast, a blinding flash engulfed the clearing. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in confusion as the warmth of their light engulfed the chilling abyss. But the creature would not be silenced easily. "Your memories, your hopes, they make you weak," it rasped, eyes blazing with rage. "Wrong!" shouted Jessica, her heart pounding, as she echoed Derek's fierce resolve. "We're not weak, we're connected." In that moment, with fear dissolving into determination, they harnessed the essence of their past, every laughter shared, each secret whispered under the stars, and all the love that had guided them through storms. The shadows surged forward, clawing at their light, but they stood firm, united as one. As Jasmine's voice broke through, tenderness wrapping around her words like warmth from an embrace, she spoke, "You don't just want our fear. You want our light, too." With that revelation, a radiant burst surged forth, driven by the truth that they were more than just companions, they were a family. The shadows writhed and shrieked, terrified as warmth illuminated every dark corner of despair. Suddenly, the darkness surged back, one final offensive wave crashing toward them. Derek felt the fear wrap around him like a vice, squeezing tighter. "No!" he screamed as he called on every ounce of courage he had left. "We're stronger than you think." Their hands intertwined tighter, and as they shouted their memories, they unleashed a pulse of unstoppable light. The shadows, now blindingly bright, began to dissolve, screaming in distress. They dimmed and faded, revealing the wider world beyond, a realm bathed in hope and shimmering light. With one last surge driven by raw emotion, the beast shattered, disintegrating into nothingness. The air cleared, the thick fog lifted, and the ground steadied beneath them. They were still standing, hearts racing, but now they felt warmth chasing away the remnants of cold. As they stepped forward, they found themselves by the shoreline of Blue Harbor, the waves lapping gently at their feet, carrying away the remnants of past hauntings. Derek took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the salty air. The night sky sparkled with stars above, twinkling like laughing spirits. "We did it," Jasmine murmured, disbelief coloring her voice, but also pride. "Yeah, we're still here," Derek breathed, glancing around at his friends, the familiar sight of their relief brightening his spirit. "Forever connected," Sarah added, a smile breaking through her earlier tension. The memories of shadows served to bind them closer, but not in despair. They shared a bond stronger than the darkness they faced. They watched as dawn's first light crested the horizon, a golden reminder of new beginnings and second chances. "Let us promise to come back," Jasmine said, looking each of them in the eye. "Together, always. Always." They echoed, throwing their arms around each other, a group huddle amidst the sunrise glow, an unbreakable army against the night. As they set off down the beach, warmth flooding their chests, they felt the lingering shadows dissolve like ash in the sun. An unshakable sense of peace wrapped around them. The past still existed, hidden in memories, but it lost its power over their lives. They had triumphed. It was time to cherish their lives, their friendships, and every summer night that awaited them. Don't miss out on more thrilling adventures. You need to subscribe now so you can keep up with all our upcoming tales. Smash that like button to help us spread the word and flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with 5 friends who need this moment of hope and courage in their lives. Let us keep the connection alive and explore the shadows hand in hand.